Ever heard of vibe coding? It might sound intimidating, maybe even scary if, like me, you don't know how to code. But for every marketer on this planet, it's about to become absolutely crucial. Why? Because this AI-powered way of building things online is already changing how websites, tools, and apps get made. And chances are your competitors are already building things with this. Now, recently, we've been building everything from simple calculators using just prompts to fully functional apps with databases using tools like Lovable, and even entire websites with complex pages and fancy styling using platforms like Windsurf. This stuff is beyond powerful, but starting out can feel really daunting. So today, we're breaking it down into 3 simple levels, showing exactly how you can get started building, well, anything. Okay, Gil, you want to show us the first example?
Okay, so for the first example, I wanted to pick something that everyone can do and can actually just make them money, basically, like something that's practical. And I'm going to give you a real case study. Basically, we are working with marketing pros. They are a recruiting agency in South Africa, and their kind of like USP is that they're cheaper than everyone else. You get people that are equally as good for less money. That's really the high level thing. The problem is like their landing page does not really reflect how much money you can save, right? And so you could be using vibe coding to make some kind of like simple calculator so people could essentially calculate their savings, right? So that was the idea. For this project, the first thing I needed is data. I needed to understand like, how much do the kind of jobs that they hire for, like what's the price difference in terms of salary? So I went to Gemini 2.5 Pro Advanced Deep Research, and I asked
Do you want to just break down what those words mean?
Okay.
This has changed recently, right?
Okay, so Gemini Advanced is just like we have that as part of Google Workspace. So if you pay for a company Gmail, you basically have that. But I think there is also a deep research in a free version. Deep research is basically an agent that will browse the internet. I think it browsed like 300 websites to essentially create that report. Takes about 20 minutes, which is why I'm not doing it live. And I ask it to look for in-house SEO, salaries, US versus South Africa, ads managers, podcast managers, video editor, software developer, marketing, project manager. And what it did is it actually got me data in tables, which is very handy. It's not perfect, but it's not worse than if I sent an intern to get that data, basically. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like the basis of my calculator. Then the next thing that you are going to start learning when you want to do this kind of vibe coding, which is going to remove a lot of the mistakes that the code editors make when you create something, is creating what is called a PRD, which is a product requirement document. Thank God it's very boring to write, but we have AI to do that for us.
We've built a few tools in our previous business using a software development agency. And this is essentially the same process anyway. When you're working with the developers. You need to tell them what you want because they don't understand your business. So it doesn't need to be too technical. You just need to explain what the business wants.
Exactly. And the more detailed your prompts, the more essentially likely you are to actually get what you want. So literally my prompt to Gemini 2.5 Pro without deep research this time and using the canvas feature that allows it to create documents was to say, hey, I need to create a PRD for a simple calculator for marketing pros to help people value their services on their homepage by comparing the price of hires they make with them versus the price of hiring in the US. And then I very dirtily pasted the data I got from deep research, basically. And the only second prompt I added was like, make some tasks at the end of essentially like how to build this, like kind of like plan the building. And so I have this kind of like big document, and I clicked on the copy button, and then I went on a new window, and I said, create a calculator following these PRDs. And I just pasted whatever I got over there. And I started thinking, and it gave me basically like a version of this, basically. And I can show you the previous versions.
You can preview code directly in Gemini then. Cool.
Yep. So that's the first version I got, right? It's like you could basically select a role based on the data we got. You could select like the level of experience. It would give you basically some kind of comparison with you can save between $41,700 and $48,000 whatever annually average saving this. And it gave me like some kind of design stuff that wasn't perfect. And so I just kind of like had like a few chats with it. So I was like, change this, change that. The flag wasn't here at the beginning, etc. And then it's like, for example, I asked it to add some loading animation to make it look like we actually like deep research into a database and make something that looks fancier than it is. And it's like, now the last version I have, it's like I gave them the branding as well, like the colors. And if I take like Ad Manager Senior, for example, then you can see I have this like, oh, calculating your savings, whatever. It does that. It kind of reformatted that. And I can just basically have the button. That's pretty much what I built. Could help your conversions if you had something like this on your website as marketing pros, right? The problem that a lot of people have.
I'm just thinking like back when we had our SEO agency, there's so many SEO companies had these calculators, like how much money can you make with SEO if you rank for this for your keywords, and these little calculators. It was pretty cool, but back then it cost money to build this. Completely trivial to do.
And you can see on my prompts on the left, I basically talk to it like I talk to a developer. Like this prompt is like so simple. Let's add some perceived value by adding a 2-second load time for the results with a fancy animation, making it look like we're doing live calculation and querying proprietary databases. And so, for example, like the branding, I went from a non-branded version to a branded version. The only thing I did is I went on their website, I right-clicked it, I went into, this looks fancy, but don't be afraid. This is the CSS on the right. And then you can see there's like all the variables of their design here. I just copied this and I pasted it in the chat over there. You can see I just literally pasted this. I was like, use this, just figure it out. And it just rebranded it, basically.
You have to paste in the code. Can you not just ask it, like give it the URL and say, style it in the style?
It doesn't fetch it as well. Sometimes it will fail. Like it's much more reliable to do. It's really not that difficult to do this. Just scroll to the bottom of the CSS, the styles tab, basically. Grab the theme style. You can see there's the fonts, the sizes, all of that. And it reads that. You don't need to understand what it is, and it will just do it. That's vibe coding. Like in essence, you don't have to understand. You just need to understand the high level. You don't really need to understand what the code is doing. This is pretty safe to deploy something like this on your website. Like it's fine. You can totally release that. But then I guess the question people have is like, okay, cool. We're on Gemini. How do I put this on my website, right? That's the main problem people will have. And so the way you do that is actually very simple. I'll show you a free way to do this. You go in the code part. It's going to look scary, but don't worry. You just click on the copy button, right? Then after that, we're just going to go on my desktop, or rather in this thing, and I'm going to make a new folder. I'll call it MP calculators. I'll put a Z at the end because I already did this before to practice. And what you do is you open a basic text file. You can see this is like the literal, the stock text editor on my desktop. I change it to plain text and I paste. Like you can see all this code is here. I save it into my folder. I'll go here and I'll call it index.html, right? That's it. And I click use HTML. Now I'm going to go on a site called Netlify, which is a free hosting provider. Like you get 100 GB per month for free. So it's like, it's very unlikely Marketing Pro would ever run out of stuff. And once you've created an account, you click on add new site, deploy manually. And here you just drag and drop the folder that you created with the index.html in there, right? So I'm going to drag and drop it. And normally it's done. It's ready. And so now you have this permalink thing that you can click. If I click it, you can see essentially my calculator is now live on the internet. It's working in principle. Yep, it's working. I can copy the URL here, go on WordPress, and then you basically have this iframe code. Ask ChatGPT if you don't know how to write this. Be like, how do I iframe this URL on my WordPress site? And all I did here is I did /HTML. I put the code, and then here you just replace the URL with your app, right? And then if I save the draft and I open the preview, my calculator is now on my page.
Nice. Completely free. You don't need any coding to do this.
No.
Literally anybody now is a developer. How is this going to change the internet? How is this going to change websites?
I mean, there's no excuse not to make your website not interactive now. Like you have to do that. It's going to be the bare minimum because like every kid's gonna know how to do that. Like, it's like I have this moment, this thing in my head where it's like, this is our boomer moment. When the internet came out and our parents just got left behind because they didn't adopt it. This is where we are at. There will be 20-something years old coming out of university that can do this all day long next year. And if you don't know how to do that, then you're the old schmuck that is basically outdated. It's time to pick that up. And it's time to build better websites, basically. And I think that's the thing. It's like content websites have fallen. They're gone. Like there's no point for a content website when AI can answer your questions better. But there's a point for stuff like that, for example. Like this is added value. We've done a deep research. We got some data. We put it together. And honestly, even if I did the deep research live, like we'd probably be done in 10 minutes. And it would be done. Obviously, there's a little bit of tweaking to do. Like you can see there's a bit of padding and margin here. But I could totally go back to my code, talk to Gemini to change it. or whatever, and then just tweak it basically. But that's the point.
This is the thing. Anytime you have a problem, you just speak to it like you would speak to a developer, and it's like, hey, there's a big space at the top of this. Can you fix it?
Yeah, and it's like, I think it's knowing how to do this is bare minimum for any marketer today. Like if I was doing a hiring test to hire someone to work with us right now, that would be one of them. I'd be like, hey, you have 20 minutes to make me a calculator and put it on the website. Go. And it's like, it sounds impossible if you don't know these tools, but that's the point. Like that's being AI native. And that's why I'm like, we're talking about this now because it's that simple, it's that easy. You don't know, like we didn't read a single line of code. We didn't talk about anything technical here. And we still have a live calculator on the website. You can see on notorihacker.com.
And the first time you made this, so, you know, I know here you've kind of gone through it before, but like how long did it take you start to finish going in, not knowing how to do this?
Less like 40 minutes, 30 minutes. Like once you understand the PRD, I think the key that people are going to be lazy and skip is the preparation. It's like everything, right? It's like, I mean, this research is fine, but this prompt is gold, basically. Like, and it's like every project we're gonna do that on this podcast. We're gonna create a PRD. You don't have to write it anymore. You just have to chat and have AI who is like a very well-rounded project manager write it for you. And again, you can use the Canva function with Gemini 2.5 Pro, which is, in my opinion, the best model at this point, for free. It's on free accounts and create these documents. So there's no excuse not to do this. And that gets you a one shot. That's why it was so easy. And especially as your projects get more complicated, as we'll see, it becomes more and more important. And we'll introduce even more preparation steps as we go.
And it seems like these AI companies are really putting a lot of effort into the coding ability because there's a huge advantage for them to be able to do that, right? You know, Facebook has said, I think it's like not hiring new developers. And it's just going to basically replace people with, or replace junior developers or augment their current developers with this tech.
All the effort
it's pretty
is put
accurate.
on that.
That's what to say.
Like we are, like OpenAI released GPT 4.1 yesterday. It's not even that good of a coding model, and yet like 70% of the presentation was making it writing code. Like these AI companies, most of their effort is on that because they know that's what's going to, essentially code's going to make better AI over time. And that's what's going to drive the most value. And like,
you've said this before, right? The highest value words that AI is code. Because what would cost you thousands of dollars to make this from an agency in the past is now trivial.
Should we jump on to the next project?
Yep. Okay, let's do that. But before we do that, let's have a quick word from our sponsor today, which is Bento. Now, last week, I told you about how Authority Hackers switched to Bento and saw major improvements in our email deliverability. Today, I want to highlight why their marketing automation features have been a game changer for us. Now, unlike other platforms that lock their best features behind expensive tiers, Bento gives you access to everything from day one. Their powerful automation workflows let you create complex, multi-path customer journeys without the enterprise price tag. You can build multiple automations inside a single flow, something that I haven't seen elsewhere. This essentially eliminates the need for those frustrating part 1, part 2, part 3 sequences in other email marketing tools. What's really impressive, though, is their site tracking. Now, this follows user journeys even before they subscribe. This essentially gives you incredible insights into how anonymous visitors become customers in the first place. And all this starts at just $30 per month for up to 3,000 contacts. And the big one, this comes with unlimited email sending. So while other big platforms out there are limiting the number of emails you can send per month, even on their higher tiers, Bento does no such thing. You can send as many emails to your customers, to your subscribers as you want. And you can see this pricing ethos throughout their software. So there's no feature gating, no upsells, no hidden costs, just straightforward pricing where you get the entire suite of marketing tools for all your subscribers. And their starter plan includes everything from advanced flows and broadcast to transactional emails and even live chat. So if you're tired of paying premium prices just to unlock basic features with other providers, check out bentonow.com. Their approach to pricing is as refreshing as their approach to email marketing. Thanks again to Bento for sponsoring this episode. Now let's talk about the next level 2, we're calling it, of vibe coding. What is level 2 and what is the difference between level 1 and level 2?
Okay, level 2 is actually data permanence. So it's like, the calculator we built earlier. When you refresh the page, essentially the data is gone and then you start over. What if you want to build an app that has a little bit of data permanence and, essentially like you can post something and have an account or something like this, right? Something that's a little bit more like a SaaS, like a job board, for example, a simple, more interactive part to your website, which honestly, again, used to cost tens of thousands of dollars to develop not that long ago. And now we're going to build something in that vibe. Like I'm going to show you how I did it. The challenge behind this one, again, was to pick something that's relevant and interesting and could be useful. So in this case, I was like, it would be good if the audience could tell us what they want us to talk about on the podcast, right? It's like, that would be a cool thing. So what if we made something that's kind of like Reddit, where you can post the podcast topic ideas and people can upvote them if they like them. And then essentially the best ideas rise to the top. And then that comes into consideration when we pick a podcast topic to do, right? It's not necessarily a huge SaaS or something like that, but it requires a database because we need a database for the accounts. If I let people post without having an account, people are going to spam or whatever. So I want an account system. I want to be able to count the votes from people. So I need some data permanence here. And I need to store the ideas as well. So that, again, we went back to our PRD, right? I went back to Gemini, which is still very good on Canva mode. And I was like, help me build a simple web app that I want to embed on a Authority Hacker. It will be built on lovable.dev, which is the tool we're going to use for these tasks. I want my audience to be able to input podcast topics through some kind of leaderboard for topics people can vote, downvote. Only people who are logged in using Supabase, which is the database integration with Lovable, which is free, can add ideas. Anyone can upvote, downvote. Think of it like a Reddit system with a simple algo that decays ideas with time similar to them. Ask me more questions if you have, and let's put the PRD together. And again,
already like that's getting quite complex in terms of what you would expect to build with algorithms and databases and things like that. So that is that's a $10,000 plus project for a custom dev agency, right?
I mean, spoiler alert, I don't think the decay is built in the final product I'm going to show you in a second. But it probably would take like 30 minutes and then it would be done.
Well, you actually gave me a pretty good piece of advice with this stuff is like, just build a kind of quick and dirty version that actually works first. And then you can always tweak it and improve it over time. If you try to be too complex too quickly, it's difficult to get it working.
Exactly. You want, like, once it works, it's quite easy to rework it. And we'll see with Lovable is actually probably one of the best tools. It's kind of like the happy middle between like more control than Gemini, but still like equally easy. Then after that, the next level is going to be significantly more technical. So that's like kind of the frontier of like non-technical, I would say. So again, like it asked me some questions as well. Like I was like, ask me some questions if I'm missing some stuff. And so I chatted with it. It's like, again, I used, this time I typed, but sometimes I just use Mac Whisper, right? I just press my key and I just talk and I just do it, Then I went to Lovable. There is a free plan. You get like 5 prompts per day for free, which is like I built a working version of this in 5 prompts. You can build something that works here. And so like literally, let's go, like, first of all, you can see the app is here and you can vote. You need to log in, sign up, etc. You can see where it works. You can sort it by new, best, popular, whatever. And then there's some kind of CTA for the podcast. My prompt is build this app, column, paste. That's it. Like, don't overthink. If you've done your PRD, then you don't need to think about it. Especially Lovable is very well done for this. And it's like, can I go to the preview of this? Let's see. Yeah, so this is the first version I got, actually. Like, after my initial prompt, this is what I got, which, in my opinion, is incredible.
I mean, it looks really nice.
For one shot. Now, I mean, if you dig a bit deeper, like, this didn't work. For example, the sign up, like, if you do, like, .com, and then you put a password, you click this, it just creates an account immediately, for example. So it's like some stuff wasn't connected and so on, but still, like, not bad, right? It's like, I would say it works decently. So Lovable is super strong at one shot, actually. Very, very good tool. And again, after that, they're like, oh, what's next? And you kind of chat away with it. So I'm like, oh, connect it to Supabase. So you can see you have this button here. You could basically log on there. You make a free account on the Supabase thing. You connect your API, etc. And that just gives you a database, basically. Like, it's that simple.
A way for us to like store the data of what the suggestions and people's account information and things like that.
Yeah, it does everything. You can connect Google with it, so people can log in with Google, all that stuff. It handles the permanence of your app, the security and everything. And it's also free up to 100,000 users, which is incredible. You don't have to pay for a very long time.
This is one of the pushback you get from developers right now is like, oh, it's not going to be secure. It's not going to think of things that we don't think of. And if you don't know how to code yourself, you may miss things and have vulnerabilities. And I think I saw someone on Reddit a few weeks back who was basically saying like, oh, the app that I built is amazing. No one can touch it.
Yeah.
Developers kind of like figured quite quickly how to hack it. So there is like kind of like still a bit of a barrier there, I would say. But for something simple like this,
here's my question to you. If you had never coded before and released something, how hackable do you think it would be? Probably quite hackable. Yeah. Is the reason the guy got hacked because AI did this, or because he was a beginner that released something, and then a lot of advanced people decided to try to make a point by hacking his app, which they could do for many human-built apps,
like, he invited the unwanted attention, let's say.
But the thing is, like, to answer to this, I think it's like I'm learning this stuff right now, but I need to learn the high-level stuff, and I can let AI do a lot of this stuff. It's not perfect. It's not as good as a human, but as I make mistakes, I also learn what to ask better, But it's like, for example, like you need to create tests for your codes and then just run these tests before you deploy, for example. That's one thing. So I've learned that concept, and then it's like I'm just chatting away with AI, like, oh, how does testing work? And like, what should I be looking for? And like on a high level, like, like how would I structure this, etc. But I don't really have to know like the code or how to do that stuff, but I have to understand the concept of it and be able to explain it. So same for like building websites, right? It's like, I'm changing my view completely. I think we recommend people go for Webflow. I withdraw that now. I take it away. I think you should build your website with vibe coding, basically, with the next thing that we're going to show on level 3, actually.
That's a pretty big statement right there. So you're saying that for like the front end of a website and the content management system?
There is a lot of content management systems you can plug in. You can even plug a site you built with Next.js or something like that, which is a framework I've learned from as I was building website, to WordPress if you want. And you can still use WordPress. Essentially, when you build your website, it will just connect to that WordPress site that has no traffic and just grab the content from there, from the API, and just like build it as a static HTML in front of your site. And then you can have a cron job that refreshes that. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to build that.
You said complicated words there. I don't think everyone knows what a cron job is. Let's break that down.
Okay, what is a cron job? It's basically a task that you set at a repeated amount of time. Like you say, every 30 minutes, do this task. And the task could be check if there's a new post, and if there's a new post, grab the content and put it on the site, for example. That would be a cron job. That's a little bit like how automation tools work, right? And so like, I would just have a WordPress site on the cheapest server I can find on like DigitalOcean for like $4 or whatever. That receives absolutely no traffic, but just acts as my CMS. And then just like have my live website have a script that just grabs the content from the API, rebuilds it, and then it's there basically.
Doing that is you can essentially vibe code it to look and feel and act however you want very easily without having to play around with generate blocks.
I think we should save this discussion for the next level though, because we're going to talk about that actually. I'll show you some examples of like landing pages I made in like 20 minutes that would take me like 2 weeks or something. So let's just keep going with this thing. But you can see basically, implemented database. I think I had an error at some point. Yeah, it said it failed with an error. And then it's kind of like solved it itself, I think, which was like kind of like, I just had to say like, he was like, oh, do you want me to do this? I had no idea what he said I should do for the SQL database. I said, yep, this looks good. It just edited 8 files apparently and kept going. And then I was like, oh, so remember, I had this initially, right? And what I did is I took a screenshot of Product Hunt. I was like, this looks better. Can we do this? But we got the current version that you see here that looks a lot more like Product Hunt just by doing this. And again, I could probably keep prompting to make it look more sleek. But again, this is a demo. I don't think we're even going to roll this out. I want to think about this a bit more before we roll this out, basically. But the point is like, like you can see this is not that long of a chat. Like most of the chat here is actually Lovable answering, but I didn't write much here. You can put this on your website. So it's like Lovable actually comes with free hosting as well, limited in visits, but like for small web apps on your site that doesn't get that much traffic, it will be free. And again, you can iframe it. So like if I take my URL here, like the podcast.lovable.app, I come here, I go on my site on podcast ideas, and then I put the URL here. If I click save in the iframe, again, ChatGPT can write the code. Say like, hey, how do I iframe this URL on my site? The only thing that you have to change really is the height. Like it's basically like how much space do you have for that element. So I put too much right now. I would adjust it if it was production. But yeah, and then you actually go on your page. If I find the URL, yep, here we go. I think I published it. And boom, we have a page on Authority Hacker where you can create an account. You can log in. The one thing is like, yeah, because it's an iframe, like you can see this, like you would change the effects a little bit basically. But other than that, like it's functional. Like people, like I'm not logged in and I cannot vote, but I cannot add an idea. And if I log in or like if I create an account, it will actually send me an email and actually I will confirm my email and then I can add ideas basically. Again, this is a 30 minutes vibe code for the podcast basically.
So what other examples can you think of that for this kind of level 2 type vibe coding that people might want to implement?
We go into the launch section. You can actually see like everything that was built and upvoted by people. They actually have their own upvote system, and you can actually see the apps people build with this, which is really cool. So let's like, I like productivity, for example. So they have this GPT chain, and I can open it. And people launch real SaaS with this, by the way, right? There's a
they're selling this, right?
How
much are they
it's
selling
not
it for?
free. Let's check. It's a bit like the site is not amazing. I mean, it's not terrible, to be honest. Frequently asked questions. I don't think they have pricing. Like if I click, it doesn't work here.
Doesn't do anything.
So I guess it's free for now. But they're like, they made a image cropping website, for example. I could make like, Gemini 2.0 Flash. A lot of people complain that our podcasts are too long and it's hard to follow. I could make a podcast takeaway generator online on the site, for example. And it's like people would just go paste the URL of the podcast they want or see it in a list. They would click on it and then here's the topics talked about. They would click on the bubble and it would just generate the main takeaways, and people could take that away, for example. So it's like you can make your site more interactive and fun, and actually a place people want to go that has more value than just going to ChatGPT. And that's really the goal. It's like, to me, this reinvents the internet completely and how site builders become essentially mini app builders,
And I think once you combine it with AI's functionality, you can basically have AI functions within any of the tool you're building. Like the sky's the limit.
Look, they have a lead generator that they built here. So for example, I can pick like technology and I'm looking for like a sales manager they only have South Africa here, and I click generate. And this is connected to AI 1000% or a scraper or something. And it's like, let's see if it works. Like a lot of these lovable startups don't work, but let's see if it works. But yeah, it's like people build these kind of tools. You can make it free. And again, amazing for links, right? You're doing SEO. This is amazing. So you can see, boom, I got 5 leads basically. See, this is the vibe coding issues. Look, I can highlight the phone number and remove the blurring.
It's supposed to be blurred out. When you click over it, the phone number is visible there.
Again, if you actually QA your app and you talk to the AI about this, you can fix it. Like I've had bugs like that I've fixed many times vibe coding. The problem is like this wasn't QA'd properly. And you need to human test it basically. But
is there anything kind of catastrophic that can go wrong with this? Like, can someone get your API key and then rinse your credit card with that or something?
Yes, they can. So you need to be careful. We will talk more about that when we use Windsurf. But basically, you need to protect all that stuff. Yes, and it's like again, I'm not a developer, so I'm not going to pretend I know everything about online security. But you need to be quite careful. Every time I do a plan for something that has something like this, I spend a lot of time talking to AI about how to protect it and how people could exploit it.
I think if any marketers are generally worried about this and put off and maybe afraid to start because they're worried about some security issues, I mean, most of you have done that with a website before, right?
Yeah.
You've had to deal with sometimes a lot of people trying to hack your site or malware and these kind of things. And there are ways around it. Like you're able to solve the problem once you face it. So
and there's also solutions
put you off.
There's solutions out of the box, right? It's like you can implement CAPTCHAs, for example. So if you talk to AI and you're like, hey, let's implement CAPTCHAs, like I want to see a CAPTCHA, and it's hard to cheat the CAPTCHA because it's built by Google and they actually know what they're doing. And then your app just basically says, trigger CAPTCHA, work only if CAPTCHA says yes, it's fine, basically, and give all the security tasks to Google. So it's really a matter of, as I said, understanding the tech and learning how to connect it so that you can prevent these things, basically.
And there's going to be someone with more software development experience in the
he's going to call us out.
Explains how this is such a bad idea or something. But I would say
there is ways to hack it, but it's so for example, if you use a webhook, if you don't protect it, there's also ways to do that without the CAPTCHA, etc. So it's you just need to learn a bit about it, like building a website.
Okay, let's jump on to level 3. But first, let's have a word from our second sponsor today, which is originality.ai. Originality AI. Their AI detector remains the gold standard for identifying AI written content, a capability that's becoming increasingly crucial. Google's quality raters are now specifically evaluating AI content as part of their assessment process, signaling a stronger stance against low quality machine generated articles. In our recent tests, Originality's detector accurately flagged every AI article that we threw at it, even those that fooled other detection tools. But what's really transforming content workflows is how their content optimizer works hand in hand with their detector. So after confirming your content is human written, the optimizer assesses what truly matters for ranking. So instead of the outdated keyword density approach, it takes semantic relationships, content structure, and topical coverage that correlates with actual ranking success. Now, the tool provides actionable insights like identifying missing subtopics, suggesting content improvements, and highlighting areas where your competitors are outperforming you. What impressed me is how Originality used these exact techniques to grow their own traffic by over 400% in the last few months. For content creators serious about both quality and rankings, having both tools in one platform is invaluable. At under $15 a month for their Pro plan, it's significantly more affordable than paying for separate detection and optimization tools. So check out originality.ai if you want to create content that's both authentically human and strategically optimized for search success. Thanks again to Originality AI for sponsoring this episode. Level 3. What have we got?
Level 3 is, I don't think we're going to do a full build here. I'll show you something I built. Level 3 is like starting to build full websites, basically. Like not just like a quick page on your domain or something, but a real website. And it's like, you can do that with Lovable, but it's still a little bit limited in terms of like what you can do and so on. So I'll show you an example of a landing page I built that I was testing. This took me 20 minutes. And I talked to Tim at the same time. He was asking me like, oh, how is it to edit the content? Like, oh my God, it would be so difficult. And so like I just edited
I'm
this
very
in, like,
much getting
seconds.
Ahrefs vibes from this.
Yeah, I stole the branding.
The color scheme. Yeah.
I stole the branding. And so like so first of all, let's talk about what tool people are looking at. This tool is called Windsurf. It's a full coding tool. Like it's something that professional developers use. Like you can see if I click here, there's code everywhere. It's scary, basically.
Yeah, very intimidating.
But that's the point. It's like, yeah, but the good news is you don't have to write much of that code. It's like, it's actually mostly automated through AI. And actually the good thing with Windsurf is it has this preview. You can see I have like a chat on the right, and then I can talk with AI, and then I can even click on this send element, and I can select this H1 that adds it here, like on my chat at the bottom right. And I can say like, oh, change the font or whatever, for example. I would just do that if I wanted. So it's like, it's not too bad. It's like probably the most approachable real dev tool out there.
I would say for anyone coming from like a WordPress site background, I mean, there are places within the WordPress dashboard, you go into your theme files, that also looks very intimidating, right? Kind of gotta understand what you're looking at roughly. AI will do the heavy lifting for you.
So like, let's just look at the page quickly because I haven't shown it, but this was vibe coded in like 20 minutes. And I think it's like a pretty strong landing page, including, again, a calculator that would like calculate your monthly cost or whatever. And then like what our clients say, like, okay, you can add some photos, FAQ, nicely animated, looks beautiful, CTA and footer. Basically.
I mean, for a 20-minute generation, this is absolutely incredible. There are obvious issues with it, with like padding and spacing and things, but like nothing.
No, it's because my window is small. Like it's because like I've shrunk my window. Look, if I expand, it works fine. So it's like it's okay. It's just like because like I'm making my window small for the podcast.
Okay, fair.
But actually, it's fully responsive. If I shrink it, you can see it goes in mobile mode perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. And the image is ChatGPT, by the way. It's not a stock image or anything. This is all AI generated. So it's like, yeah, this is better than 99% of websites, I would say. And that's vibe coded in 20 minutes. The problem is it's a little bit more complicated in the sense that you need to give the right instructions to AI here in terms of technology, for example. So, I talked about crazy words like Next.js or like Astro is the one I'm using here for like, which is some kind of like framework for building website, basically. But it doesn't look as scary as it sounds. Like, so for example, I can change my copy just by editing the title here, for example. And it's like, it would just edit. But let's just go through the process. I'm not going to build a full website live. It would still take some time. And there's a chance that it will fuck up because it's not perfect. Can you guess what we're going to do now?
No.
We are going to do a PRD, as we say it for every other project. In this case, I was like, let me rebuild Marketing Pro. I don't know how far we're going to go with this, but this is the extent of my prompt, which is pretty short. Help me write a PRD for the new Marketing Pro website. I want to rebuild their site from scratch using Next.js. So that's where it's like, oh, you probably should know what you're talking about. I know what the technology is. I don't know how to code it. It doesn't matter too much.
So what is Next.js?
It's basically a framework. It's a web development framework for front end that allows you to make nice interactive websites. So think about like Apple sales page when you scroll and you have these beautiful elements. And I'll show you how to do that in a second, actually, using AI, how to do pages that have all this stuff. So basically, yeah, I need to be able to tell you that. Again, don't know what it is? Fine. You hear it in a YouTube video. Type this in ChatGPT. It's like, explain to me what Next.js is and why is it good for building websites and is it good for SEO and so on. And that's the kind of discussions I have to understand this stuff, basically. I want to ensure it's SEO friendly. The reason I said SEO friendly is because, again, I don't want to get too technical, but for Google to be able to crawl your website, it needs to be HTML. And it's like, you could code the website with like heavy animations and stuff. It's not HTML, it's JavaScript. It wouldn't be as SEO friendly. So basically by saying that, I understand this framework. I understand you could make it not SEO friendly. And so I specify that, right? It's like, I want it to be SEO friendly, fast and secure. I'll be building a mix of landing pages, case studies, blog, and marketing material. I'm going to be using, again, ShadCN for many of the elements. Now, again, these frameworks, the beauty of them is that they have a lot of elements that are pre-built. So for example, I'm going to show you a really cool website that Sebastian showed me that is called 21st.dev. And this has like, you know, the Apple-esque animations that you might dream of. You see like this kind of stuff, right? And they took all these elements and they made them into a prompt you can give to something like Windsurf. Or Lovable for that matter. So if you click copy prompt, like you see you have like Lovable here, for example. So you could click here, I could copy the prompt, and it's like, let's paste it here just to show you. But like you basically have a giant prompt that gives all the code to use and how to use it to an LLM inside something like Windsurf. So you can, that's why I say, like, I'm going to use these kind of elements. So then I can just go shop here and I can be like, hey, change the header to this, change the navigation. You know, they have this amazing navigation, for example. So I can be like navigation menus. And let's say like, yeah, even something like this one, for example. Like you have all these like beautiful windows that pop, etc. Like this looks so much better than the WordPress site.
Super smooth the way those menus open.
And I can just copy the prompt and then put it wherever I want, and it will build something quite similar. I've tested it; works quite well. So okay, back to the prompt. I basically gave it that. It gave you a PRD, fine. I was like, I want to build a robust design system using, again, another technology you should learn about, Tailwind CSS. It's like a design framework. I want design consistency, blah, blah. I keep chatting with it, right? I'm like, oh, actually, we missed that, and we want to add this, etc. Then when I'm done...
Can I ask a question? Like, if you don't know what ShadCN and Tailwind CSS and all that is, can you still do this? Or is it going to, like, prompt you to use that, or is it going to just pick something random?
It will do it by default. It will pick something. So basically, here's how I'm learning this stuff. I started with, like, build me a website. It built me a website. And then I was like, what did you use to build this website? And then it's like, oh, I use this ShadCN and Tailwind CSS and blah, blah, blah. It's best practices. I'm like, why is it best practices? Is it good for SEO and marketing and stuff? Or like, what's the...
So you're kind of asking better? AI questions to train you at the same time as your... Okay.
And it's like, that's how I'm talking today. It's like, I don't know everything about that stuff. But then I'm like watching a YouTube video about it or whatever. And it's like, yeah, eventually I have a concept of what it is.
So I've been working a lot in NAN recently, building automations, and at the start of every work session, I always say, hey, I'm very new to this. I don't know what everything does, but I like to learn by understanding how it works.
Yeah.
Make sure whenever we're talking that you explain it in plain English to me. And so every time it says, I'm going to do this, it just really breaks it down into simple terms, and that helps me learn super fast.
Yeah, you become like a better marketer as you do this. But the good thing is like before you had to kind of like pause and learn and you wouldn't do anything productive. Now you can do the productive thing while learning, and it's so much more fun actually.
You don't have to go watch a 20-minute video to learn about something. It just explains exactly what you need to do, completely relevant to the context you're working in.
So now let's go back to Windsurf. And so what I did is I made a document. So I clicked on new file and I called it PRD.md. .md is markdown, right? It's just the format. That's this kind of like hashtag for headlines, etc. And I pasted it and then I asked the chat to clean it because it was like when I pasted it, it looked horrible. And I just like, hey, fix this thing. So it's like in these code editors, you can say fix, and I could say at, and then here I can mention a file, for example, right? So I do at PRD, and then now it understands what I'm talking about. And so like I was like, hey, fix this. It's not well formatted. So I did that, and then I told it to read the project document and to prepare a list of tasks to break down the process step by step with a new file. So it made a file. It made itself a to-do list, right?
Okay.
And that's kind of like when you make more complex projects, you want to write
hundreds of tasks and subtasks in this one.
And then that's why I have no idea what's going to happen. Like I wanted to show you the one I built before because I don't know what's going to happen. But then I just go read task.md and pick up and start the project. And normally, Gemini 2.5 Pro, which is connected to Cascade, is now opening my task file, reading it. Oh, okay, I need to do npx create projects app latest on the terminal. Well, that's what I just did, right? And now it's actually just running my terminal. So actually I need to talk to it, but like, do you want to install Next.js? Yep. And it's just installing all the stuff for me. And now it's building a website. And the good thing with something like Cascade is it can do like 20, 25 actions in a row. And because the actions are essentially outlined already, it will really do a lot. Like I'm sure you've used it a bit. It wasn't necessarily a lot, but now it's like, you know, we're going to be chatting and it's just going to start building the website basically. And I have no idea where we're going to land here because sometimes it's not perfect, but yeah, you can see it's like it's building a new folder now. And it's like it's installed all that stuff already. So the thing is the reason these coding tools are so powerful is they have access to this thing called MCP. MCP probably could be a whole podcast episode, but it stands for Model Context Protocol, I think. Yeah. And basically,
it's like an API for AI, right?
Yep, exactly. So you can see, for example, my MCP here is connected to this 21st.dev, so you can actually pull the elements that we looked at earlier just by me describing them and even modify them on the fly. It has access to Brave Search, so you can actually search for stuff on the web. It has access to Firecrawl, so you can open websites and take screenshots of them. It has access to Perplexity, so you can also search for that. It has access to a full browser through this puppeteer, and it has access to sequential thinking, so you can actually break down tasks further, and so it can do a better job. And so like, it will use all these tools to do stuff, basically. And so that's kind of like the power of this. And you can see it's still going, right? It's like, oh, I would like to cancel, da-da-da. I'm like, whatever, do it.
Your approach is generally just, yes, okay.
I mean, I kind of like check quickly, but this was this chat CN, so it's like, this is actually just elements. It's not crazy. It wants me to see the terminal is here. It wants me to just pick stuff, right? So I just need to make a few decisions. Now it's done, it's gonna keep going. And you can see that thing is like, I'm basically just watching it code and then it's like, if I don't understand something that went on, I basically go into chat mode here and be like, hey, what did you do? What did you change? How does that work, etc. And I can just ask questions, basically. So yeah, and you can see it keeps going through its phase one by checking the project structure, etc. And it's just asking me like, output show, but not source component, which seems that doesn't create source components. Do you want me to create a directory? I'm like, yeah, okay, do it. Then when this is running, you kind of go back to something like that. And then now you can actually work more on stuff. So for example, let's say I want to add some photos on the testimonial, right? I could literally select element. I can be like selecting this, like this thing. And then I could be like, let's add some photos to the testimonials. It's just like, because I selected the element, it understands, it's going to look at it, and it's gonna try to, like it's looking at the files, and it's just gonna start adding some photos there. Obviously, I don't have photos on my project, so it's gonna put a broken photo here, but I could just put a photo in my project. I would just do it basically.
And this is very similar to how you would give feedback to a web designer who is building this for you.
Yep. And not only that, but like if you want to go node level 1000, The photos are here. You can
Taking
see
like
it's good.
stock photos or something,
I don't know.
or just generated some random.
I don't know, but yeah, I just did it. But like, if you want to go nerd level 1000 in Mac Whisper, I actually did a deep research on how to prompt for vibe coding. And so now I can speak a command and Mac Whisper will transform that into a better prompt for vibe coding. So let's pick one, for example. Like, for example, I don't like that the FAQ kind of opens when you just mouse over or just want it to open when you click, right? So let's select the FAQ here and I'll press my key and I'll be like, so this FAQ element opens the question when you mouse over, which I don't want. Instead, I want the element to only open when you click on it. Can you fix this, please? And so like I've just said something pretty basic, but because I have my vibe code prompt, you can see it actually just wrote a whole prompt on this, basically. Like, look
So
at
this
the
is
FAQ,
what you've
identify.
spoken is being transformed into these like more technical instructions by the prompt within Mac Whisper, which is a separate voice tool.
Which breaks down the task again.
Okay.
So let's try to run it and see what happens.
Does that's basically a system prompt within Mac Whisper that uses an AI model to do that? Is that right?
Yep. So it's like Gemini 2.0 Flash gets the transcript of what I said and has a prompt that essentially guides it on transforming what I said and just rewrites it. And then I can review it and do that. Obviously, you need to be a bit careful because sometimes AI can just go off-road and actually say something you haven't said. I haven't checked here, so let's see what happens. But the good thing with this vibe coding as well is AI can fuck stuff up, right? It can happen. So let's see what happened here. Can I click? No, I can't click actually. It's still working, so let's see. Yeah, it doesn't work now. It's fine. Let's say it's broken. Perfect. What I can do is I can go back to my prompt and I click on revert to this step. And if you click here and you confirmed, all your code is now back to exactly where it was before you did the prompt.
So it's like inbuilt version control.
Yeah. And then my prompt is back here and I can tweak it to get a different result, basically. So it's like, that's how you do this, basically.
So what else, aside from building websites, can you use Windsurf to do then?
I mean, anything that requires programming, really. You can make a backend in Python.
Could you make a full SaaS app in here?
Yeah.
Like an app store app for
Yes.
mobile app.
You can do everything. This is a full code editor. Like the sky's the limit, but obviously it's like you need to say the right words and you might need to troubleshoot quite a bit to get to a more complex result. Like the more complex the project, the more difficult it becomes to vibe code your way out of it. So like you saw the first calculator was very easy, and as we go forward, it gets more difficult, basically.
Now, a lot of people watching our podcast come from a marketing background and they've built websites, they've worked in websites before. So would you suggest starting with building a website because that's maybe familiar to a lot of people, or is there something simpler?
I think a website is good. Like I think a website on Astro or Next.js, it's good. It's like your risk of getting hacked is very low because there's no crazy database or hidden stuff, etc. Like basically the risk is you get your API keys hacked and a lot of credit is used. If you're using AI API keys, you can put limits on your API keys, so do that. So you can, like, whatever happens, you can definitely limit the damage. It doesn't mean it's good, but you get the idea. Websites is a good start, and then just start adding interactive elements, like build these calculators, build this this voting app for the podcast. You see how everything we did in this podcast kind of combines together, right? You can build your site, then you can build these little things together, you can add them up. It's very easy.
Okay, so just to show you another example of something really simple you can do inside Windsurf, I built this company name cleaner. So quite often when you're doing prospecting for link building or for sales outreach, you'll get a list of company names and it might look something like this. You know, this is probably pulled from the website, you know, the title tag of the website or from somewhere else, or have, you know, LTD or LLC in the name, and you want to clean that. You can, of course, use AI to do that, which we've done in the past, but I wanted something which could very quickly do some basic cleaning for a list of, you know, thousands or tens of thousands of company names. So I didn't even do a PRD. I just went into, I think it was Gemini I used, and I said what I wanted it to do and what I might want it to do in future, but just build this core company name cleaner for now. I said we may want to integrate it with AI in the future to do some more advanced operations, but this is all we need to do for now. And then it built this. So you enter your company, list of company names, hit clean names, and it's literally like a split second and it's done. And then I went back and said, add a copy to clipboard button and make it work well from a UX perspective or something super basic like that. And so like when you click on it, it changed. So you see it there,
copied.
It changes to green and says it's copied just so you know that it's been copied. And that's the kind of output you can get from something super basic like this. And this is literally a 2-prompt thing.
Is this AI like that cleans the names?
No. It's just applied some rules. So I gave it a few examples of company names. The AI produced the instructions.
I wrote the rules.
It wrote the rules, but the AI isn't cleaning this because that would take too long when you have tens of thousands to process.
Okay, yeah. I mean, look, this is the kind of stuff that you can build. You can do that for marketing. You can do that for your internal processes to essentially speed things up. So in this case, outreach. Like there's lots of use to this stuff. This is something that most marketers are going to have to pick up. You build your custom dashboards, analyzers, that kind of stuff. It's much easier than you think. Now, Windsurf, it's still like a little bit challenging, I would say, for most people. But
I want to say, though, I think people should just try it. Something super simple like this. I even find it quite intimidating watching Gail navigate around Windsurf and pull in all these elements and shad CDN and whatever the hell he was talking about there. It's intimidating because you don't know what these things are, but you get to know it quite quickly when you just try.
You learn it by doing it. I think you have no choice. That's the way I think. Yeah. So you have to figure this out. You have to learn how to build simple things that will impress people. I don't see people linking to articles anymore. They link to tools, like do that if you want links and so on.
I'm just thinking back through all the previous companies that we've had, how many internal tools to just process data or execute simple tasks we could have built that would saved us and our team, hundreds or thousands of hours over the years. And now it's just completely trivial to build all that. So it's a whole new world out there.
Right? Yeah. It's like NA10 together with vibe coding. It's like, holy shit. Do you
want to just talk briefly about that combination? I think we'll need to do a full podcast on NA-N at some point. But what is NA-N and how does that interact with these kind of tools?
I mean, NA-N is a bit like make.com.
Yeah. More
it's an automation tool. Yeah, like you can actually do code with it and so on. But again, the code can be written by AI. You don't actually have to do that. But the point is that you can create these workflows and then you can connect them to front ends you build on Windsurf or on Lovable. And so you could run the product on something that looks like a bunch of nodes that you connect to each other. This is something that's not finished, but I just want to show what the interface looks like. So that's what NA10 looks like, basically. You just add a bunch of nodes. You have the stuff like the apps that you can connect to on the right, and then you open one, and then it's it has all this stuff. You connect the fields, it goes on the other side, and you just connect stuff and do things. And so that's N8N, and you can essentially for example, I'm rebuilding BrainSnap with it right now. So you get data from people putting a prompt that says I have a dog hosting business. Then you have Gemini that basically gets the topic, the TLDs, and it's just has a long prompt to brainstorm a bunch of domain names. Then you have this thing that's an API query that will essentially check if the domains are available. And then if the domains are available, passes it to the next one. That's then going to do more tasks, etc. And then I can have it come out on the other side on the front end I build on Windsurf, basically.
So couldn't you do all this back-end stuff within Windsurf, or can you have it coded directly? Why do you need NA-N for this?
So NA-N is a great workbench. So it's for me, it's a way to test each node individually and see how it works and change the settings and see how things go. And then after that, you can export a file from it that you can import into the AI. And then that has basically your entire workflow. And you'd be like, hey, that's my workflow. Let's build an actual backend for it. And then that's probably how I would go. But for MVP, it's enough, actually. I would literally just connect hooks to that. And it's if people actually like it, then I'll build the backend. The hardest part with software is getting traction, right? It's getting people to actually use it.
And I think one big advantage with NA-N is as a non-developer, non-coder, you can see exactly what's happening step by step. And it's just a bit easier to kind of comprehend what's going on. And then,
because if you get multiple Python files,
parts,
it's going to be intimidating and it's going to be difficult to work on. You're just basically going to have to rely on AI. And if it bugs, because it does, it's not always perfect. And it's sometimes you get stuck. Then there's not much you can do. Whereas here, you can actually figure it out. So I find NA-10 to be an excellent workbench for any kind of mini SaaS idea you might have, free tool, that kind of stuff. Even it's good enough to launch it if you set it up properly. And then if you have traction, then yeah, you should definitely not keep it that way. But it's a place to start.
I think we'll have to do a full podcast on NAN
Yeah.
and make.com and these kind of automation tools at some point in the near future as well.
I agree. Let us know in the comments if you want that. This was vibe coding though, so hope you liked it. This is
Final question
Yeah.
for you. So are software developers dying out then? Like, is this the end for that profession, or is it just going to change? With AI, we saw it pretty much wipe out, a significant percentage of writers, right? And with images in ChatGPT, there's now a question about graphic designers, and it is the writing on the wall for software developers. Should people still learn to code?
I think for the bad ones, yes, it's bad. It's kind of writers, right? It's like they're still writers. They're not all gone. But like the shitty freelance writers that didn't really have anything to say, they are gone. And so like, yeah, it's like, again, like if you understand all this tech, how it plugs together and you're able to prompt AI well, I think you'll be very, very useful and people will be very happy to have you. Like one guy like that will output the work of like a whole team before, right? And so like, yeah, it's like, I don't think CEOs are going to start coding. But if you're a crafty marketer, like, yeah, you'll be able to do some stuff. You'll do the basic stuff, like probably the first 2 steps, like the lovable step and the Gemini stuff. Like, I think most people will do that. But then the Windsurf stuff is, I would argue, it's like, it's not everyone's going to do that, and that's okay.
You know what? Yeah. We were talking about this before, but like it reminds me of the early days of setting up a WordPress site, right? Where you had to upload files in the FTP, and it took 20 minutes to set up.
That was horrible.
It was complicated, and it put a lot of people off. Whereas now it's one click and everything is set up. Like you don't need to know anything. So I think a similar level of ease of use, ification, just invented a word there, is going to happen to this industry quite rapidly.
Yeah, and that's why like look back at your website and ask yourself like, would any of the stuff we talked about make it so much better? Because every new website that's built is going to be built like that now. So you're going to get outclassed very fast if you don't start at least adopting the Gemini stuff, making like simple interactive widgets and so on. Like we need to rebuild Authority Hacker. Like I see that stuff, I'm like, holy shit. But like I need some practice still. Like I feel like we're just discovering right now. Like really this was us sharing like 3 weeks of discovery, really. Yeah. We need to progress. We need to get better, no question. But I think the fact that we can already put stuff out that could be used by people after literally a few weeks shows that this is essentially enlarging to a larger amount of people being able to build things on the internet. And marketers are in the front row of the kind of people who should be leveraging that. And the people who will do well. The people who don't, they still spam Pinterest,
Do you think there's some like business opportunities here? I'm thinking for people who go around and like make websites or do marketing for small like local businesses. Like you could really churn out some good work.
A lot of stuff. You can sell cheaper, you can make it faster, you can make it better. Like people see more value. Like the market hasn't adapted in terms of prices yet. So there's a bit of an arbitrage right now. There will be for a few years probably. So yeah, it's cool. There's money to be made, but it has to be made differently from how it was done before, basically.
All right, so that was vibe coding. Any final words of wisdom, Gail?
No, just try it. Like do at least you have to make a calculator you can build for your website and make it on Gemini for free. Like do that at least. Sign up for a free trial on Lovable and make a simple app as well. Like you will be surprised at what you get initially. And then if you like it, then you can look at something like Windsurf or something else. If it's already too much, then just stay at these 2 levels.
And if you do manage to build something, make sure to head on over to the YouTube comment section of this video. Leave us a comment. We'd love to check that out. And we will be back next week with another episode of this podcast. So we're going back, at least for a while, to a weekly podcast. So you have a lot more stuff coming from us in the near future. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss another episode, and we'll see you next week.